welcome back to another episode of Immersive Storytelling.
Immersive storytelling. Let's
Hey,
go.
travelers. Ready to travel?
Let's go. To start things off, happy birthday, Xander.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank
Xander
you.
made it another cycle around the sun.
Yes.
Yes, it was awesome. Thank you so much. Got a tiny head cold here. Been battling when I went around, but thank you guys so much.
So,
Mhm.
Xander, I hear that you have a couple topics.
Oh yes. Moving right along. Let's start diving into this. This is cool. So we're totally utilizing ChatGPT to spitball some podcast episodes.
Love it.
So it's given me three options. Episode 1, Virtual Realities, the Future of Art and Design. The theme is explore how VR and AR are transforming artistic expression and design. Number 2, Eco Art, Designing with Nature in Mind. Dive into the world of eco art and sustainable design where technology meets environmental consciousness. Focus on how artists and designers are using technology to create works that address climate change, promote sustainability, and raise ecological awareness. Or 3, the gamification of everyday life. Examine how gamification techniques are being integrated into non gaming environments to enhance user engagement and creativity. Discuss the role of technology in transforming mundane aspects of life into interactive and entertaining experiences.
I like those. Those are pretty good from ChatGPT. And another one, just sidebar.
Yeah.
I also would love to hear updates from you all. Like, I think we left last week with we were about to run with, we each have our own business, and we were going to take some shots at like different approaches. Like Xander, I think you had a couple you had a live last week talking to your community, and you did too. Caroline, there was a lot of lives going on last week, so would love to touch at some point about that. But first, should we tackle one of these three?
Let's do it.
Yeah. I like Caroline's enthusiasm.
So I think go for it.
I like the gamification of everyday life.
Let's get that one then.
Is my pick. Yeah. So I guess I could tie in because what we're doing, and I was joined by my illustrious co-hosts Kim and Caroline last week on my weekly LinkedIn Live audio series called Pure Curiosity, which was formulated by me trying to dive deeper into the psyche of my viewers, my community, and figure out why they were coming to visit my profile and interacting with my content. And one of the main reasons was pure curiosity. So I decided to speak directly to that pain point and create some art using Gen AI technologies. And the feedback was great. So I wanted to continue that. And I was urged by some of my viewers to expand the idea to still images to video, and then I did a video series, and the video series has become a live series where now we take the audience's engagement and ideas and input and let them upvote different parameters of the narrative, and then we create episodes based off of that. So. And also feature guests. So that's what we did. We did the first kind of live integration last week, and it was really fun. It was really fun, really interesting. A little bit hard for the data capture and upvotes. So like it's hard because we on LinkedIn you have a series of reactions. You can do thumbs up, smiley, heart, or whatever. And and so we had them do a thumbs up one way or like a smiley face one way, and it was just hard to differentiate. But it was good times, and I had a really awesome time like adhering to those ideas and producing all the artwork. I've shared the still images, and I've gotten all the expanded images done, and now I'm working on the animation and the final video production I'll have done today. Dude, I love it. It's so cool. Like I said, like the whole thing just gives me more purpose and direction, and creating what I'm doing, and my pursuits to have like 5 live shows or productions. And this one's unique in that, you know, it's like the audience is helping create it, and it's really cool. So
That's
that's
awesome.
that's my update. Keep an eye out for that. I'll be dropping it on LinkedIn and teasing it on other platforms.
Nice. I guess just slightly before I like ask, Caroline how her life went. So how do you feel like I feel like gamification might have taken a little piece of that. So or with the voting, it didn't exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That's the game. Yeah, that it feels like a game. Like that's the game part. Yeah, like what
Yeah,
they say.
you kind of did like a whole branch your own narrative. You kind of developed it on the spot. So I guess to give people kind of context, is Xander put together 3 different questions, and it was either you were able to pick, a single user or like a group, and people were voting using emoticons, which was slightly challenging using LinkedIn's live features because the emojis don't stay on screen for too long, and
Yeah.
people were slamming both. So it made it very interesting. But I'm really excited to see what Xander comes up with. Well, like the final piece, because I know Xander, when we were asking you what are you going to do for your birthday, you said you wanted to make that. So like, I know this thing is like dear to you. I'm excited to see where it comes with. But anything else you would like to touch on that?
I don't think so. Yeah, just the maybe for me. I mean, it just because like I it's just it's miraculous to me. Like it's really miraculous to me as someone who really just wants to connect with the audience, and the lives are maybe just a really interesting way to in real time connect and like co-create. That's a little bit more exciting. I mean, that gives me more passion to create my designs and any kind of artwork. Um, when there's other minds and other energies and other frequencies involved. So, and it's an experiment. It's a really cool experiment, and some other people are getting excited about it, and then that just makes me more excited, and I can facilitate things and utilize my and this is just one aspect of what I do, one day a week, like, and spend a little bit of time doing it. So I'm really excited about it. It doesn't have to be fully all encompassing because the AI tools are so strong and the audience is so real time. So I'm just like, I think it's really cool.
Oh, I
Last
love
thoughts.
that. I love that because I think in all sense, like in the similarities I see between all like our businesses is that we do use gamification in some sense to kind of gauge like how our community interacts with our content and like trying to figure out what it is that they really want and then doing more of it. So passing it to Caroline and trying to like would love to hear like how your live went. What are some learnings you got from that? Just vibes in general.
Yeah, so I did a couple of lives last week. One that I thought was really notable was one I did on Saturday, and it was cool because I opened up this TikTok feature that if you want, you can click co-host and it'll connect you with other creators, and then you
Wow.
can split screen. And so I did that with a couple different people and met people from one person was from Paris. And it was cool because you just don't know who you're gonna really connect with. It's kind of like this.
Is it like chat roulette? I
Kind
didn't
of,
know.
yeah.
I
And
didn't know
then
TikTok did that.
yeah, and then you just like end up with like half the screen. And then I did like my first TikTok match, which was
Like a
fun.
dating. That's awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, it was cool. Like they asked, it was cool to have another voice in the chat besides the chats that you get back, which was kind of a learning experience because sometimes on the lives you don't really get the same level of like a physical retail experience where you can understand or read the room or understand what people want to see.
Gotcha.
And so having people that are actually you can see their video too, and they're one-to-one engaging with you, they ask questions sort of thing to guide that. is super informative in what, you know, they do want to see. Like one of the co-creators asked to see like a close-up of the details, and, you know, asked a little bit more about the line. And having questions, I feel like, to guide the lives is a cool way to create an organic shopping experience that ordinarily you would just be talking to you know, your audience and responding via chats and sort of hoping that the chats exist. Sometimes they don't. So sometimes you could just be talking to yourself.
Yep.
And you know, navigating that territory is, I'd say, each live you learn something new with that. But also, you know, it helps to continue to do that so that you can get that information and modify your, you know, performance, if you will, the next live, and just keep learning. And yeah, I think that was a cool feature that they have on there. A little bit, I don't know, they also have a feature where you can invite your guests to join, but that's a little bit daunting, I feel like, and less sort of the venue of shopping, because you don't really know if it's going to be something where you need like a moderator or
Yeah.
it's like you know,
It could be, yeah.
but you can sort of, I guess, trust a little bit more if it's a creator, although you still don't know what you're going to get, so who knows. Yeah, so overall it was another learning experience, and super fun and awesome. I think, like Xander said, to connect with people at the click of a button, really, you know. And yeah,
I'm proud of you both for like really going out there and doing lives with the mission of connecting with your community. I think you know, I'm excited to see like this journey as it unfolds, and like we all do more lives, because I know we also have a live we're doing coming up soon.
yes, next week, next Wednesday.
Yeah, and I guess like not necessarily gamification, but I've been on that. You know, I had an event this past Saturday in Mozambique, and I only had
How did it go? The video was amazing.
I know. To give everyone context, I haven't even counted how many videos I made, but I made a lot. I think that I use I rely heavily on Instagram's ads, and I think in that there's these called ad campaigns. And in that ad campaign, I think I had a total of 22 videos. Like
Okay, so
I created in the span of 5 days.
Can we break this down a little bit? So
Yeah.
when you're running an ad through Instagram, is it sort of like a boosted post, or is it separate of that?
So for this one, I did only do boosted posts. Like I've done it both ways, but I try to take into consideration what is important to like the culture there that I run ads in. Like, you know, like Mozambique's, I lead by what my team says that is more important there, and something that matters is kind of like the number of likes and the number of views. It's very important, especially when it's in events, because like something you'll notice even like when you throw up music events, getting people to come to an event early is very difficult. So like it's so much easier to sell tickets if people know that there's people inside. So the whole like your whole mission is to try to get as many people in the door as early as possible. Usually, since our events go from, I think that event went from 10 p.m. to like 4 a.m. So trying to get people to cut, like we want people inside before midnight. And what I think one of the things that actually worked very fast before like jumping into the Instagram ads, like, and that kind of leaning more on and is leaning onto the community. So we did a couple partnerships with influencers, which helped a lot, which is kind of amazing. Like when you work with an influencer and they already kind of have like a good face, like I'm still getting likes on the video that they did for us.
Okay.
Yeah. So collabed with like an influencer who was like known in the party scene, and it's just them telling people to come to the event, and then also partnered with like the biggest meme page in like the country to just kind of do some little funny things. And I feel like that ended up getting more interaction and views than the ads that I was running.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and to give like context into like how Instagram ads kind of work is like, although I'd made 22 videos in that span, the way that the algorithm works is it kind of like prioritizes based on like the outcome I'm trying to get to. So for that one, it was like boosting posts, but I feel like I need to do a couple of tweaks, because something that I noticed is that like the people that were getting shown my ads were not necessarily people that were going to come to my events. And
Okay.
I noticed that as the ads campaign went on, and it was starting to get more expensive for me to run ads. And then when like after it, I had like a post-mortem with my team, and I was like showing them the accounts that were like following. I thought they were bots, because I was like I'm like, these followers have like, these people have like 50 followers. I was like, they're not real. And then my my A&R, my artist and relations manager, he's like, oh no, they're real. They're just, he calls them, they're like, those are just dinosaur Facebook people that don't know how to use social media. And I was like, what? You're telling me this is actually a person? They're like, yeah, it's just they don't really know how to use social media. The quote that he gave me, he's like, it's the equivalent of trying to bring a caveman to New York. They're never going to come to our event. And I was like, okay, so that's that's kind of the next thing I'm trying to figure out is like, I've realized I need to figure out a way to kind of hit my target audience. And just to give kind of people context, like it's a premium nightclub that I'm working with right now. So it like not everyone's going to be able to like, you know, get to the venue or like afford to go. And it's also, I have it set to like, you know, you have to at least be 18, but for some reason I still feel like a lot of kids see my posts. So
it's odd, and I feel like
odd.
they should also, I would love if they could, because I know that they have the data on like how often we use the applications, right? Like, you know, there's a monitor in the app under settings that will show you how long you've been using it for, like how long you're, you know, on it. And I guess that's for, you know, monitoring your screen time or, you know, your how long a day you are engaged in using that platform. Now, if we can see that data, it would be great if they could then allow that as part of the ad targeting. I want to target people whose activities are nothing lower than an hour a day, because you know that you're not going to reach, or that they're not active users like on the platform. It would be helpful to sift out those dinosaurs, or whatever your friend's calling them, that are, maybe they're not bots, you know, but maybe they're not even signed on. And maybe like, or maybe they sign on for like 10 minutes, you know, accidentally even, and they accidentally see the ad. That's not really worth your money, paying for that. And I think the goal for advertising and what has made these social platforms so successful to where they are today is their ability to target ads and reach the audience you're trying to reach. And so if you're burning through money and a percentage of your ad spend is spent on an unreachable or not, you know, engaged audience who's not even using the platform, and you don't even have the ability to not target to those people, that's kind of silly, because then, you know, whoever wins in the advertising game, if you will, is the person who has the most capital to spend.
Yeah.
And if you're, you know, if you're trying to compete as a small business with a big brand who has a different budget, how are you able to compete? Does that really sound like fair game at that point, or are we just creating more big businesses out there?
No, I feel like there's definitely tools, and I'm trying to dive into the ads campaign thing because there's so many features in there. Like these people have a lot of data. It's kind of scary, because but like something I realized once the ad campaign already kind of ended is that I had a setting on that I didn't even notice was on until like, you know, I'm like trying to figure out like what happened, like why wasn't why did this ads campaign get more expensive? Like at some point I felt like it got more expensive than when I do ads in San Francisco, because I don't have that issue when I'm in San Francisco. Like I'm never questioning whether someone's a bot. But it's also, a smaller audience. Like my reach isn't as big in San Francisco. But a setting that I noticed was that I had a setting that was turned on that was, it would only ever show an ad once to a person within 7 days. So you can show the frequency of like an ad to someone. So I'm not sure whether that helps me more, or like, I also had set up the ads campaign to be more of a visibility thing. So like brand visibility, versus I'm probably should have gone with a lead generation, and started to collect the thing that I know I would like to do, and trying to figure out a way to do this in a different country, is starting to collect contacts, like, information for their names and like maybe like their phone number or email, so that I can get them on the guest list, or that I can contact them about future events. But that's something I'm still trying to like figure out a good way to do that, because I think I noticed when my events campaign ended that for some reason my Meta didn't localize me. So it was prompt when people were going and doing my DM thing, it was all English, which I think also deterred people, because like the language there is Portuguese. So I had a lot of messages that were saying like, I don't understand English. Like, how can you, like, and people trying to speak English to me. So I'm not sure what happened. So I think the outcome was okay, but like, I think that I have another event there in like less than a month. I think it's like May 11th. So I'm trying to figure out like, how do I work out these nuances so that I'm actually reaching the audience. And I think we're all about that right now too. Like, passing it all back to y'all, and like, I don't know, like, it feels some type of way when you put so much heart into like, you really think you're gonna get it this time, or like, I'm gonna hit my audience, and then like you get something like this and you're like, what happened? Like, but there are these like little short week sprints. You learn so much, and I feel like I have, but I'm still like, I still feel like sometimes I'm fighting a black box, because it's a little it takes, there's so many variables that go into it. But as like, I think before hopping on this call, like Caroline made a good point of like, Caroline with a background in data analyst, it takes years of data sometimes to be able to like draw a conclusion.
Yeah, and also I think when the pandemic happened, that kind of gave all of that historical data a run for its money.
Huh.
So
Because
we're kind of in interesting times.
yeah. So I think, Xander, where do you think you're going next with your community, and like basically all that information you've just taken in? Like, what's next?
Yeah, so I think continuing to have develop the show, develop the brand, continue to based off of the input from the lives, which is like directly from market, I think is cool. And that'll be like one vein of my brand that I run. I'm also gearing up some really exciting guests. So as each direction, while each episode is kind of generalized on kind of this like kind of anthology esque like Twilight Zone esque series where each episode is not necessarily connected, I do want to have themes that we can hone in on. So one industry that I've been a part of for a while, and I think is exciting because they adopt new technologies, digital fashion, and there's a couple of different areas that we can go with that. So I have some leaders in the Web3 and digital fashion queued up to come on and be a guest for the show. Now I haven't actually figured out how to like incorporate that into the creation of the show, but in the creation of the episodes, the media outside of it. But they're coming on purely to help educate, entertain my audience. So that's the plan, and of course, continuing our gamification layer, I'd love to take this, because one of the other things I know is that we're only in our third week, but there's literally like I don't know, so many pieces of media. Let's say 50 pieces of media that are a part of this Pure Curiosity brand already. So I think one way that gamification or the immersive layer can help me is to create one like centralized location where they can come and see all 3 episodes of the Pure Curiosity that we have out, and then like see the artwork and see, you know, making up videos, and just have an immersive space where it's all kind of condensed into one like a gallery esque experience that could be branded for the theme. So I think that that'll definitely be like on the horizon, just having guests on the show to specialize and further drive like the narrative and the education aspect of, you know, why we're doing this is entertaining people who are curious about the future and art and technology. So I think it's important to have those. And then, yeah, you know, build the brand out so people can kind of visualize and experience what they're doing with their time. Because like if you're on an episode and you give input, I think it kind of gives you some piece of ownership. You want to see it brought to life. You want to see like, hey, is this guy really doing this stuff? And or I did this and I gave the suggestion. And I remember when we made the decision to make it about AI in everyday life and man versus self instead of man versus tech or nature, and about a group of people. And now I see he created 3 characters. Like this is cool, you know. So they're just kind of like something to hold or experience after they're coming on the live, and spending their most valuable asset, you know, with us, time, you know. So I think that should be repaid back to the audience with like the payoff of holy crap, I see it now, you know. So I'm excited to do that, and then yeah, just keep continuing to do the live shows, and of course like be able to have a platform for my friends and like associates too, because you know, no, almost nothing brings me more pleasure than like big up in my squad. Like I love it. It's like that's what I want people to do for me. So like when I have an opportunity or a platform to do it for other people, it brings me joy to be able to do that. Yeah, man, I love collaboration. I can come up with my own creative world. Sometimes I get lost in it so much, but when yeah, when there's other people involved, it's like, oh, this is your shared experience now, you know. And yeah, so I love it. I'm super excited about that aspect.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, you know, and I'm wearing a shirt that says it, but like art, I feel is iterative. So that's sometimes the silver
Ooh.
lining I have to tell myself is like, this is a creative process and you're only going to figure it out as you keep going, you know. You even in business, you either succeed or you give up. So that's why I'm like, you just part of it is you just got to keep going. And for you, Caroline, what do you think? Like, you know, your goal like from live, I guess partially was connecting with your audience, but like I know you also might have loved to have done a sale. Like, so like what do you feel is next steps from here for you?
Next steps, just keep going, keep grinding.
Oh.
You know, we ordered more SKUs so that we can show them off physically, because we were only limited to a couple. So just getting them in, getting all the different products that we have, being able to show them physically, super important. So that's what's next. Also, what's next is partnering with, you know, influential creators, artists, musicians, you know, poets, people that express themselves, and having them support and wear the line, and letting all of that magic unfold. Who knows? I ordered some lavender seeds and wildflower seeds, and I have a bunch of glass jars. So I think I'm gonna try growing those and see how it goes. It's
Let's go.
That's probably the most daunting thing right now for me.
Oh, is there any ideas that you have floating around for like interactivity, like how you can? Because I feel like I think we all kind of touched it in some point. Is like trying to get that, it feels real good when your community starts interacting with you. From going from like playing, kind of, I guess the analogy of like playing in an empty room versus like having an audience that's there clapping or like, oh yeah, awesome. That's where we want to go. So, but like it takes some time, building that. So any ideas that you have for maybe how we could foster that?
I think the one piece of advice I could give is, and this was always something that I held close to me while I was a musician, and playing those empty rooms is, imagination can take you a far place. Imagining the engagements there, imagining that you're speaking to, like, imagining your end goal and just pretending that it's already there.
Yeah.
You can attract it.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And I think, we are creative people, so we have that ability of imagination. But creative people can also be super sensitive, so you can you can get your feels.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we can. Like, oh man, I've been my feels all week.
Yeah, but being sensitive is a beautiful part of how we're able to connect or be able to understand people.
Vulnerability.
That able to understand people that ordinarily, like, I guess less sensitive people might not be aware or have the awareness to understand. But with that sensitivity, I feel like you have a couple of options. Like, you either imagine that you are reaching, maybe not reaching, but that they're already there. You're already in a conversation with what conversations you want to be having in the future, and just harnessing that ability to continue going, to your point, Kim, like resilience, and continue going, plus the imagination of like, I'm already here. Could take you a long way.
Yeah, I think like something to just like echo to anyone out there who has a dream of pursuing something creative is like, I guess challenge or like push, like encourage you all to just get started, because something that I've found from like talking to people is a lot of people don't start. So they say that they'll only like create like a group or like a broadcast group once they know for sure 20 people will join. I'm like, what's wrong if like only 5 people join, or like 3? I'm like, that gives you a chance to connect with those 3 people really hard, and those people would be your advocate. But sometimes people feel like they have to have like, a filled room or all these people that support them to be able to get started. But sometimes it's just those, like I have y'all. Sometimes when I'm in my fields, I'm like, oh my gosh, my content's not hitting. No one's seeing them. And then you all are like, Kim, you're killing it. Like, I see you. It's those homies that just say, like, I see you. I see what you're doing. And those are like, sometimes you just need that. So I know like the next thing I'm targeting with is like, I've been really in my feels about like, how do I get more interaction? So for like these upcoming events, we've been trying to figure out like who do we even get as like a DJ for our next event. So an idea that I've been tossing around, and I've seen a lot of like Los Angeles event promoters do it out here, is like creating a post and then asking the community like, who do you want to see perform? Tag those DJs. And those posts end up doing very well because like, there's incentive from the community to like kind of like crowdsource like who should be playing, and it brings a lot of visibility. So that's the thing I think I'm trying to figure out with my content now, is like creating content that's more like, I want to hear something from you and your voice matters. So I'm excited about this upcoming live too, because I know we're going to do a bit of that, just hearing from the community and going from there.
That's awesome. So I have to tell this story, but there was just with the encouragement. So this past weekend, it was I had an awesome birthday gift from the universe. Also, it was one of the most milestone UFC events. You know, I'm a big MMA fan, and it was UFC 300, which is the 300th event they've done, and it's like the biggest production in the history of the company. But there was this one specific viral knockout that was one of the most incredible moments in sports I've ever had. So it's the fifth round. First of all, this is the BMF championship, which means bad mother beep. You know, it's literally a belt they designed for the baddest like fighters and lifestyle and in the cage that you compete for. And so this belt's on the line between one Justin Gaethje. He's a 155. This is a 155-pound lightweight battle, and he's just one of the most devastating, violent artists, knockout artists, and fighters in history. He's had 12 fights and like 12 UFC bonuses, and the bonus always goes to the most exciting fighters. And he was going against a more seasoned but beloved fighter called Max Holloway. And keep in mind, my partner for Fightopia is Max Griffin. This is Max Holloway. And Max Holloway is this like BA Hawaiian cat. And he's been in the UFC forever since he was like 20 years old. And he's like 32 now, former champion. And he's going up a weight class to go fight go fight Justin Gaethje for the belt. Anyway, everyone had counted this guy out because he had done it once before. He'd moved up a weight class and lost. So everybody was counting Max Holloway out, saying he was too small, saying he was washed, which means like old and not able to do it, and like he wasn't big enough. And this dude goes out there, like, I love Justin Gaethje, so it's hard to say, but pretty much whoops his ass for 5 rounds straight. And in the last 10 seconds of the fight, when he's already up, he does this thing where he challenges Justin to basically like a shootout to stand in the middle of the ring and just trade punches and see if they can finish the other person. Which is like that's usually not realistic fighting. That's not how it usually works. You know what I mean? At all. That's like movie stuff. But he does this, and he does this gesture. Let's fight right here. And so they start just throwing crazy like haymakers at each other, standing in what they call a phone booth right next to each other. And literally with 2 seconds left, Max lands this incredible right hand that just flatlines Justin, puts him out, wins the belt, and the timer just drops to 0. And the literal stadium just goes wild, and like people are saying it's the greatest knockout like ever. And so what I'm saying all that is that, you know, just like Tim was saying, like it's easy to get discouraged from dissenting voices, even if that voice is from within yourself. But you have to like dig deep, find those other voices who can support you, and find that thing that just says, I don't care what anyone says, even if it's a voice in my head, I'm doing this. You know, I'm going to put my all into it and just build bit by bit by bit by bit. So that was an incredible moment. It's been, you know, inspiring me, and check it out on the internet and everything like that. So I just wanted to kind of share that.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I love that. That's vibe. Got to keep that alive.
Love it.
Determination, will.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, like this, everything's a learning experience, and kind of like I think we've touched on this in like past episodes. Is like this, you know, this journey is a scientific process in its own. It's going to be iterative. You just got to be willing to learn and don't doubt yourself. You gotta believe in yourself and your ability to bounce back regardless.
Yes, and to tie it in with the gaming of the episode too.
Yes.
It's funny, Max on an episode with Joe Rogan was saying how he learned like a lot of his early techniques from playing the UFC video games. Like before he was in the UFC, he would go play the UFC video games. And also he's a streamer. He plays like shooting games and stuff, and like live streams his episodes, and a few of the fighters do. So that's an interesting parallel with Max Holloway.
That's cool how like games ties into that, because that is like a wealth of knowledge that's just kind of there. Like especially, you know, like now, like I remember Xander, you said that you play, I think like the boxing simulation or something, the VR simulation, and you said it's pretty like accurate. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
Nice.
Every day, yeah. Thrill of the Fight. It's a really cool VR game, and there's a bunch of other boxing ones too that just really is like simulation. I've always been a fan of the video games, like from Mike Tyson's Punch Out on, Nintendo, um, to all the way until VR.
Wow,
Like now
Nintendo,
I'm
let's
actually
get it.
using them about right. Like you always move the controller and stuff, but it's like now you actually move the controllers to fight or play. So it's still really cool. It's really cool. It's exciting. It's exciting. That is one of the aspects about the VR and stuff I'm really excited about is just being able when you can touch those immersive experiences and just make them kind of a part of what you're already doing. It
Mhm.
just makes it less like alienated, less daunting, less of a novelty, just more of a routine. Like, oh, I get to embrace this and enjoy this. Like, as a part of what I already love, and that's what I try to do for my audience and my clients. Like I just think that's the best when you can enhance your humanity or your experiences through the technology or with the technology, right?
Yeah. Oh, I always love talking to y'all. It's great, like, it's very re-energizing, especially when you're getting like, I say a lot of times I'm like, I just want to fight something, which is like I want to do something very hard, but it's
Yeah.
also like it's very, you go into it with like the best hopes and think, like really hoping you're gonna like knock this one out the park, like grew up with baseball, so I use a lot of baseball terms sometimes. But like sometimes it's just you swing and you miss. It's kind of it happens. But like it's taking all these, I appreciate y'all always reminding me that everything's just a data point. Like doesn't mean necessarily that it will be like this forever, but you got to figure out how to pivot from there.
Hmm.
Love it, love it. And any, I guess, like insightful things you all have learned from the lives before like we wrap up? Like any little gems or little things you would like to share or like next steps, anything? Opening it very broad right now.
Just keep doing them.
Let's go.
Yeah, just keep doing them.
So do you feel like you've done a couple of lives now? How do you feel like they've, you know, it seems like you're at least about them or willing to give a shot to continue doing them.
Yeah, it's like you never know what you're gonna get as part of the game, You keep running that and you keep up your stimulation in your head and try not to let the voices to Xander's story get to you. Try to, find voices that will encourage you to keep getting up and throwing that punch no matter what. And yeah, you never know who you're going to connect with on a live. It could be someone that could completely change your business and in one moment, you never know.
Facts, consistency. You know, part like sometimes my team always reminds me is like we just have to be there. It's like we just got to be everywhere. And we just got to be there. We just have to be accessible. Like that's part of the thing.
It's a good point.
Let's go. Any final closing things? That's a great episode. Well, see you on the next episode, travelers. We have an upcoming live, so stay tuned. See you
Catch us on
there.
LinkedIn.
You'll be able to utilize Gen AI, third-party apps, Pika, Runway, and even OpenAI from Sora within their app, and they have like generative expand things. And I mean, this is like borderline magic. We're talking like you can like highlight something in it, do a bounding box around it, and expand it. Or like in the example, they showed a briefcase that had one thing in it, and then you like type the prompt. I want to see a case full of diamonds on black velvet, and then boom, it just automatically does it right there within the application. And yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. So the community and just everyone at large, I think, is really excited about those upcoming updates to Adobe Premiere Pro, integrating more Firefly as well as the third-party Gen AI apps that are leading the way in video creation. So video is definitely having a moment. AI plus video is definitely having a moment. How are your experiments utilizing Runway for some flyers? I thought you used that in a really innovative way.
I really want to learn how to do Runway because I have not done Runway ML.
Okay.
Like that is not in my workflow, but like Xander, I know you use it. So like I've been using a lot of just like mobile apps to it this last week honestly feels like a blur to me because I think I was just on a let's create content as quickly as possible.
Hey.
Yeah, it was just kind of woof, let's get it. I think I relied heavily on just mobile apps because a lot of the content I already had was on my phone, which has been very interesting for me because like Xander, I also went with like I you know before I used I think before I was doing all these events, I was relying heavily on like I'm an After Effects person, which usually I do on my computer, like on my desktop, like my beast of a machine.
Right,
But
right.
the part that kind of slowed me down a bit from doing it that way is I made I think only one of my videos from like last week was using After Effects. Everything else I did just using my phone. And the reason for that is it was just so much faster for me to make content on my phone than it was for me to do After Effects. But part of the reason is because my After Effects isn't integrated with AI versus like, you know, on the mobile apps, I could I literally just had to put in clips and then I have AI auto edit and it just kind of choo 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 done and all my content's already there.
Yeah.
So I'm also excited for what's going to happen with Adobe because like I also feel like that's the only step that it's missing from me using Adobe again more. It's just that it was a lot more time consuming for me. In the time it would take me to create that one video, I would have created already like 5 on my phone. It's just a lot faster. But I am also excited as like a video content person. You know, it's amazing what like something I tell you, Xander, is like we're getting to the speed of like a small company now. Of one person is like able to produce at the speed that was before just only like a small studio. Like
yeah, just maybe like 2 years ago.
yeah,
600 percent or more increase in productivity output in the same amount of time. It's wild. And I feel like the quality of the creative is, you know, just keeps increasing. Why? Because they keep dumping more money into it, like you know, investing more money into all these products, so they're going to keep getting better and hopefully evolving to meet the user's needs. That is one of my favorite thing about the mobile applications, like you were mentioning. Most of those apps in the editing creative suite software have had to adapt or evolve rather to being mobile first and being fast, you know, so, as opposed to the legacy desktop apps, which it's a different use case, it's a different type of experience. But yeah, I like to see some of those blended. Adobe does have a lot of and some other apps of like creative app sides of things, and those are like really fast, and it's just more intuitive. I feel like in your hands, you know, than maybe the mouse or whatever else you're using. I don't know if you're doing the VR map modeler or editing in VR, but or with the Vision Pro or some shit. But yeah, I love the mobile apps. There's some really good ones, some really powerful like random ones that you can find to do stuff like you couldn't even dream of sometimes, like just out there. Explore the app sections on the App Store.
Yeah, in some of them I did do. I think like the week before I did a combination of like After Effects with mobile apps because like I don't even remember how exactly, but I would create certain like something that I didn't know how to do in my mobile app. I would do it in After Effects, and then I would switch back and forth. I do think that like After Effects, I'm able to get a more cleaner look. So if I'm like trying to mix a lot of layers, that's a limitation that like my, you know, when I'm working, sometimes I like use a lot of layers and of just stacked videos. and it will even tell you on the mobile app, it's like if you do more than 4 stacks, it starts to get a little wonky. So when I start to do stuff like that, I'm like, all right, let me do it on my desktop, and then I'll like send it to my phone, and then we like do a combo. But I am excited because it's never been this fast. Like, but it also takes just, I think like Xander, something like you and I talk about, it's like I want to get really good at a software, you know? Like I feel like I only know how to use like just like touching the possibility of what could be done with these apps. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. There's power and mastery. But it's like I feel like you have to have specific use cases because they're so wide. Like you can do a million things. It like depends on your use case for the software. If you want to niche down and just do like vertical 10 to 15 second videos, that's all you do, man. Like, you use it differently than a film editor would, or, so it's kind of cool. It's just, you gotta like, I guess, master the use cases or just the execution or whatever you want to do is a good like practice. I feel like, especially with the speed software starting to move that, like it's it's so bonkers. Sam Altman was like, "Oh yeah, anybody who's building their models on their applications or business models on ChatGPT 4 is going to get annihilated by ChatGPT 5 when it drops." And I was like, "Oh," he's like, "Yeah, try to make your product or your service be adaptable to updates in the software. Don't just build it off of one software."
Peace, y'all.
Caroline, peace, yo. Have a great one. Good seeing you.
Love seeing you. Love seeing you.
Big love. Peace.